Spending $5,000 on a saxophone can be baffling to some people, but not to you. This is the horn you're going to be playing for the rest of your life, and that's a huge decision to make. So today I'm going to be looking at two of those instruments, the 82Z and the 875EX from Yamaha. Top of the line, titans of their class, and master classes in consistency. Let's check them out. Howdy everybody, my name is Andrew King. We are here at Alamo Music. Thank you so much for visiting the channel. Don't forget to visit us at alamomusic.com as well, where we have both of these instruments and so much more for you to check out and purchase. Well, today I'm talking about two of the best instruments out there, the 82Z, the jazz titan of the Yamaha world, and the 875EX, the dark and brooding powerful saxophone from the classical side of Yamaha. Both of these instruments are fantastic, and in most cases you're not going to have a lot of chances to try to compare the two. They're hard to get in stock, they take forever to get in, and in most cases that is a big hindrance, right? Well, luckily, we were able to make a nice massive order and get both of them at the same time, so I was able to dig them out of the boxes, get them both together, and we can check them both out today. Now, when it comes to the 82Z and the 875EX, both of these instruments are fantastic. They're custom saxophones made in Japan, and they're made so consistently across the board. I'm 100% sure that if you go ahead and just open a box of any of these, they're going to be playing very similarly to each other in their respective classes. The 82Z is a very strong instrument that we've looked at before on the channel and has great power. As far as an instrument, it's such flexible intonation. Has a great ergonomics. In my personal favorite of the two is the 82Z as far as the ergonomics go. The playing and the power that comes out of it is great as a saxophone that's used for any kind of powerful playing. So if you're looking for a saxophone that's going to blow over in an ensemble, not really a blending instrument, but more of like a solo act, this is the one for you. It's great, it's powerful, and does everything you want. The 875EX, on the other hand, is very good for any kind of blending. The intonation is much more close-knit, so you get a much more darker sound, a much more rounded sound. The fact that you're getting both the V1 neck on both of these instruments really shows how the instrument itself plays into that fact. With the 82Z, you have these metal resonators. The bore and the bore on both of them are going to be pretty similar, but the metal resonators, in my opinion, is what's going to make or break as far as that extra 1 or 2% that gives you that cutting edge. The 875EX, on the other hand, uses the nice plastic resonators, but they sound phenomenal. This one, on the 875EX, when I'm playing it, and I actually got to use one in college, it reminded me so much of the ideal saxophone, if that makes sense. When you're growing up and you're going through it and you're learning how to tune yourself and you're learning how to play in an ensemble and be in, right? You want to be in that pocket. The 875EX is one of those really great instruments that is just not going to get in your way with that. With the 82Z, what ends up happening is that, in my opinion, the intonation is so wildly, it's not bad or anything like that, but it's so easy to flex around that sometimes that can get in the way of a player that doesn't have as much control over the instrument. So the 875EX makes that way better in that case. But both of them, in my opinion, because of those two aspects and everything, don't make them bad instruments in any case. You might want that flexibility in the 82Z if you're playing in different styles and you want different tone colors. The 875EX, you might need that kind of blending ability if you're playing in like a saxophone ensemble, or you're playing with a piano and you're wanting to kind of match those colors as well, and pin down and lock in on that exact kind of color that you want and the intonation that you want. So it really just, in my opinion, both of these instruments are just master classes in consistency and specialized tools for those instruments. So let's go ahead and check out both of these instruments, and we'll talk more about it in a second. Check it out. So before we begin, I do want to talk that I'm using a New York Meyer mouthpiece and a New York Meyer vintage, some Boston Sax Shop silver label reeds, 2.5, and using a Van Doren ligature, the Optimum ligature. And the reason I want to bring that up is because I'm using it for both of these instruments, because if I use different mouthpieces for the instruments, it would kind of change drastically on those things. The big thing to note is that, in my opinion, the 82Z definitely lends itself way better to that mouthpiece, for sure. The big reason being is that I'm able to get a lot more of the color that I want on the 82Z when I'm playing those high tones, and the low tones too. It's just a very powerful instrument. And that's what that mouthpiece is for. It's my lead alto mouthpiece that I use for big bands. It plays great across the board as far as the tone that I want and the punching power that I want from it. But it doesn't have a baffle or anything like that. And so because of the tip opening that I have on it, it does give me the power that I want. And the 82Z lends itself to that beautifully. When I compare that to when I was playing the 875EX and the decision I made to keep using the same mouthpiece between the two instead of using like a classical mouthpiece for the second one or doing a classical mouthpiece video and between the two, is because I really wanted to compare the colors that I was getting from the 82Z to the 875EX in terms of moldability, right? I felt that when I was playing the 875EX, it did everything I asked it to when I played those. And it was so easy to play. The 875EX, I felt my tuning was much more in control. I felt the intonation, that in itself was fantastic. The ergonomics on it were fantastic. And I was just able to get exactly what I wanted. And I think that's really great in the case if you're playing in a larger ensemble and you're wanting that nice roundness to your tone. When I was playing anything that had to do like with a ballad tone or anything, the 875EX was fantastic. It was perfect for that kind of thing. But the big thing that was making me like the 82Z more is that it pushed my sound a little more. It gave me that little bit of cut, and I call it the extra 2 or 3%, mostly because when it comes to the 82Z, the sound just pierces. It really gives that extra 2 or 3% that I feel is why I would buy this kind of instrument. And that's coming from someone, I played jazz gigs and everything like that, and I've studied classical music in college. And if I were to choose one of these two instruments, personally, I would go with the 82Z because I'm playing more of those kind of shows, and those are that's kind of music that I enjoy playing more. I like reading lead sheets. I like going to combo gigs, going to jam sessions. And the 82Z gives me that extra edge and that kind of color palette that I'm able to switch between and have way more fun with in that sense. That being said, though, if you're more into the classical kind of playing or the more ballad-like playing, the 875EX is not the wrong decision whatsoever. It's actually more of a correct decision than you would from the 82Z. By having that roundness to it and having the instrument just play really great in that fact, it kind of makes it the perfect instrument. And for some people, that's exactly what they're looking for. That's the decision to spend $5,000 on an instrument. And so the really cool thing between kind of comparing the two instruments is I kind of got to look at why you would want something imperfect versus you would want something perfect. And I think that's the best way to look at both of these instruments. The 82Z just gives you a really nice wild color and really hones in on the more out there aspects that you want out of an alto saxophone sound. I can play any kind of like modern bebop sound. As far as playing, I can get a nice strong dark color as far as playing the 875. So both of these really give that, it really just gives that aspect, and it's really cool, really fun. It was just really fun to look at both of those. And I hope that you guys saw the same stuff. Well, hey, thank you guys so much for watching too. I really enjoyed making this video as far as comparing the two and looking at the two different ones. It was definitely more of an impressions than like really going into the specs of the instrument or anything. But this was just a ton of fun and I really enjoyed it. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a good day.